Hello everyone, kumusta po kayo? Sana po ay nasa mabuti kayong kalagayan. In this video, pag-uusapan po natin ang tax liability ng isang dual Filipino citizen. Yung iba po kasi takot na maging dual citizen dahil baka raw maging subject sila ng tax by both governments, the Philippine government and the government of the country wherein sila po ay citizen na rin. This is actually a valid concern dahil napakabigat din po kasing matax o mabuwisan ng dalawang beses. Pero ano nga ba ang patakaran ng Pilipinas pagdating po sa pagbubuwis o pagpapataw ng tax sa mga Filipino dual citizens? Sa ilalim po ng Republic Act 8424 o yung tinatawag na Tax Reform Act of 1997 o kilala din bilang National Internal Revenue Code, kung kayo po ay non-resident Filipino o di kaya Overseas Filipino Worker, you are not subject to Philippine Income Tax on your income earned abroad. Meaning, hindi po taxable ng Pilipinas yung income ninyo earned from outside the Philippines, pero yung income po ninyo from within the Philippines ay taxable po ng Philippine government. Uulitin ko lang po, ito po ay applicable kung kayo po ay non-resident Filipino citizen o Overseas Filipino Worker. Iba naman po ang patakaran kung kayo po ay resident Filipino citizen. At kapag sinabi po nating resident Filipino citizen, kasali po dito ang mga Filipino dual citizens who are residing in the Philippines. This rule has not changed under the train law o yung Republic Act 10963. So, the same pa rin po yung rule. Having said that, you need to take note po na magkaiba ang treatment ng resident citizen sa non-resident citizen. Kung kayo po ay resident citizen, meaning nakatira po kayo sa Pilipinas, and you go abroad for a short visit and not to reside or work there on a permanent basis, taxable po kayo on both your income from within and outside the Philippines. So kahit Filipino dual citizen po kayo, but if you are also a resident of the Philippines, your income from outside the Philippines will still be taxable by the Philippine government. So what's the catch there? It is actually your permanent residence kung saan po kayo nakatira. Kung kayo po ay dual Filipino citizen na nakatira sa ibang bansa, hindi taxable ng Philippine government ang income po ninyo that is earned from outside the Philippines. Only your income earned from within the Philippines ang bubuwisan ng Bureau of Internal Revenue. Pero kung kayo po ay dual Filipino citizen na nakatira sa Pilipinas, both your income from within and from outside the Philippines ay taxable po ng Bureau of Internal Revenue. And that rule pertains to the tax policy ng Pilipinas. Paano naman yung country kung saan kayo ay citizen na rin? Taxable ba ng other government yung income ninyo that is earned from within the Philippines? Gaya ng nasabi ko in our previous video, the Philippines has a tax treaty with some countries to avoid double taxation. Meaning, kung kayo po ay nabuwisan na ng Philippine government on your income earned in the Philippines, hindi na po ito subject to tax by the other country. But again, this is subject to certain requirements imposed by that foreign country and subject to the question of whether or not may tax treaty ba ang Pilipinas with that country. To give you an example, an income that I earned in the Philippines as a lawyer, which was already taxed by the Philippine government through the Bureau of Internal Revenue o BIR, was no longer taxed by the Canadian government. It is because the Philippines has a tax treaty with Canada which dealt with double taxation. I just needed to submit to the Canada Revenue Agency o CRA my income tax return o Certificate of Income Tax Withheld to prove na nakapagbayad na ako ng tax sa Pilipinas. But of course, posible din po kasing magkakaiba yung mga polisiya ng bawat bansa pagdating po sa taxation. And that is why it is best to seek a professional advice from a lawyer or from an accountant sa bansa kung saan po kayo naroroon. At alamin nyo rin po kung meron bang tax treaty ang Pilipinas with that country. Kung kayo naman po ay Overseas Filipino Worker by express provision of the law, exempt po sa Philippine Income Taxation ang income po ninyo from working abroad. Nakasaad po ito sa Section 23 of the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 which states that an individual citizen of the Philippines who is working and deriving income from abroad as an overseas contract worker is taxable only on income derived from sources within the Philippines, provided that a seaman who is a citizen of the Philippines and who receives compensation for services rendered abroad as a member of the complement of a vessel engaged exclusively in international trade shall be treated as an overseas contract worker. Binigyang linaw na rin po ito ng BIR under Revenue Regulations number 1-2011. We will talk more about that in one of our future videos. Sana po ay may natutunan po kayo sa video na ito, at kung hindi pa po kayo nakapag-subscribe sa channel na ito, sana po ay mag-subscribe po kayo, and please don't forget to hit that notification bell upang ma-notify po kayo every time na may bago po tayong video. Always remember, ignorance of the law excuses no one from compliance therewith. I will see you in my next video. Ingat po kayo.